And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel, and I play more games than almost anyone else on earth. I have gamer kids who play a ton of games, but I'm always surprised sometimes at how difficult they have grasping some simple concepts that I grew up with, so I find everyone knows how to do that, and they don't. Like, for example, trick-taking games like hearts and spades, and also Rummy. Because Rummy is not the easiest concept to understand, but a lot of people like Rummy. Well, HABA has started making a series of games in which they're junior versions of these classic games. Today we're taking a look at Junior Rummy. HABA is a company that they make some family games, but they almost focus exclusively on kid games. So this is Junior Rummy. It's a way to teach kids how to play the basic concept of Rummy. And if your kids like princesses, even better, because there's a lot of princesses in this box. Princesses? Prince-I? I don't know. Anyway, let's take a look. In Junior Rummy, there's a deck of cards that are numbered from 1 to 6. There's 4 different color backgrounds, blue, green, yellow, and pink. Each of them has a number of stars equal to the number on them. There's also some wild cards in the deck, and you're going to, each round of the game, each player is going to get 8 cards. Now, in the middle of the table, there's going to be a deck with a card flipped face up, and the first thing that you're going to do on your turn is you're going to draw a card. You're either going to draw this card or draw the top card from the deck. Then, if you have a set, you can lay it down. A set is at least 3 cards that are either all the same number but have different color backgrounds. So I could play this in front of me. Or it could be a run where there are numbers that are ascending and all have the same color background. So 1, 2, 3. And in fact, the game makes it easy to do that because if you look, the colors here match. You'll see that the 1 and 2 have a pink, the 2 and the 3 have a blue. And so I could place these in front of me. Once you have a set in front of you, you can add to that, not only your sets, but other people's sets on your turn. So if I had this yellow 3, I could place it here because that one has not been played in that set yet. There are also wild cards. Wild cards can be played as part of a set. They can be anything. And in the future, if someone has a card, they could replace the wild card, put the wild card in their hand, and use this wild card. At the end of your turn, you must discard a card from your hand on top of the pile. You have to. And if that card is the last card in your hand, then the round is over. Each player has a crown card, and the player who goes out gets to put a gem on that crown card from a whole pile of gems. First person to get 3 gems is the winner. You can play a little bit more advanced rules where if you want to, instead of that person winning, you just get negative points for the cards left in your hand when somebody goes out. You can also knock if you see a card you want, and if the person whose turn it is doesn't take that card, you can take it. Or you can also play extended runs, which means 3, 2, 1, you could put the 6 on the other side. So you can kind of wrap them around with the 6 going here like that. You can add these things in if you want. It's essentially most of the rules to basic Rummy with a few minor differences. So this game here simplifies Rummy. Obviously, instead of having a deck of regular cards that go up to King, Joker, and Queen, they have 6. This is half the cards that are available, or a little bit less than half the cards per suit, and there's more than one of each card. So if you're looking for a 6 blue, there might be more than one of them. I think there's 2 of each card. That's fine, and that works for kids. The princess thing is going to appeal to people who like princesses. If kids don't like princesses, well then I guess they're out of luck with this one. I found it interesting that they said the kids can make a run of cards and those colors will help them do it if they have a hard time with numbers. Very rarely do I find a kid who's going to be able to play a game of this sort and they're like, well, I can't figure out the numbers, but I can put the colors together. If they can't figure out the numbers, they may be playing the wrong game here, because Rummy does have some interesting concepts. I found with kids the hardest concept they had trouble understanding, and even adults do, is that at the end of your turn you must discard a card. So you need to save at least one card to discard. You can't play a run and then have no card to discard. you have to discard a card at the end of your turn, which can be a little tricky as you're playing the game. Also, the rules I thought here were, they took for granted that you knew some stuff. They're like, oh, once you have a run in front of you, you can play cards in other people's sets. Okay, great. I know Rummy. I know what that means. But a lot of people playing this game may not, and they kind of just glossed over that, like, yeah, you can do that, and went on. I was like, what? Be clearer. Explain it more clearly. And almost I felt like the rules of this game were written for people who already know how to Rummy, and they're like, okay, this is how you explain this to your kids. Which I think is a mistake, because not everyone knows how to play Rummy these days. That being said, I think you could figure it out, and the pieces here are good. The artwork on the cards is good. My kids really liked putting the stars on the crowns, although they had some trouble with the basic strategy of the game. They knew they were supposed to play sets, and so that's okay by me, right? I'm sitting there saying, okay, play this, try to get rid of the cards in your hand. One of my kids is like, this is locked to get rid of them all. But if you play the game with negative points left in your hand, then it's slightly different. Do you want to play as many cards as you want in your turn and wait and fool everybody? Or do you want to play them out quickly just in case someone else goes out? I think that's the next step, so I can play this more with my kids and they can learn more of those strategies. I think the concept of this series is really cool. Hey, let's take these classic games and make them available for kids. This is a good start. Junior Rummy. Dice Tower Judgment, approved for kids.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door.